We're going into March. This is the what, second, third, fourth show of the year? I can't remember.
Something. Episode 100. No.
No, yeah.
Well, the crazy thing is it's going to be like 40 here tonight.
Freezing.
Freezing cold.
Well, you said Florida, so 40 to us is absolutely
40
freezing.
40 to us is freezing. I think up in my hometown of Jacksonville is going to be in the like low 30s. There's a freeze warning. Now I'm good, man.
Yeah, for
I am good to
the
go.
1st of March, that's
brutal.
That's too cold.
Brutal. Cool. Well, we got some stuff out here on the table. Got the power tools. We got some grips. We got the old crafty cutter.
Oh.
We got a scale. We got the ever popular MHX Native. That is in the sea foam green color. Somebody called it a seafood blue green one time, but that's going to be a sea foam green.
Maybe we should come out with a seafood green.
Seafood blue green. That's exactly right. Cool. So what are we going to do tonight? What are we going to do tonight?
Well, you did mention a couple of things we got here, but for the most part, we're kind of blank here because we're going to do a Q&A. We're going to let you guys.
Yep.
Of course, we got a couple questions that come in over the event page on Facebook, so
yeah, we appreciate that.
We're going to answer those for sure. We also have a like a little top 10 list of questions we're going to do.
Yeah, we're going to do a little top 10. We went around the up front sales guys and gals up there, and we did what is the #1 / the top 10 questions that we get from customers when they're either in the middle of a rod build, wanting to get into building, all those things. And we're also going to do giveaways.
Yeah, some great giveaways today.
Some great giveaways.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much what's going to go on here. We got people funneling in. Are you think you want to do this?
Let's do this.
Let's do this.
There is nothing wrong with your television set. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are controlling transmission.
All right.
Are we back?
So it's the Mud Hole Q&A.
It's the Mud Hole Q&A. That's it. So before we get going, big welcome party back for the Jay Bird is back in the building. Jay Boy is back. He was here with us for a little time. Got sent out to Hollywood. Been doing some major movie projects. You know, some stuff we can't quite talk about yet. But yeah, he's back. So we're assembling quite the dream team here. We got Nikki Mintz on the 1s and 2s back there, and Jay's here. Of course, I'm Chris Adams, and this is the Hunter McCamey, and we're going to be answering some questions. So what do you want to do? You want to get started with, let's scroll down the teleprompter page there. I want to look at a couple items that y'all have sent in. We appreciate you guys jumping in there and asking some questions before we get going.
Yeah.
And that always helps us a ton because we know how to direct the show. We know how to do that. You know, that's great. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna lead it off. Jason Kane had a question. Is there an advantage of using carbon fiber grips over wind grips, and are they lighter? Take that away.
Okay, yeah, this one's pretty straightforward. So, carbon fiber, like the CFX style grips compared to the wind grips, these are going to be lighter, no doubt about it. You can't argue that. You can weigh each and every single one of them.
Yeah, and we might.
Oh!
Here's the thing, though.
Have you already done it?
No, maybe. So we'll have to take bets on which one we think is going to be lighter. But continue. Keep going. Because I got a scale.
Actually, I might be wrong because I've never done it. But one of their claims to fame is they are lighter.
Right.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now that the difference between each and every single one of these is going to come down to, what are we measuring these in? Ounces?
We're going to do grams.
We're doing grams.
Because ounces and decimals and We don't need that kind of work here in the basement.
I'm going to say the difference between the heaviest and the lightest is probably less than 5 grams.
Okay, cool. So what part number is this?
That's going to be, ooh, you're going to throw me on the spot there.
No, what's
RSG3T.
Yeah, RSG3T, and we've got it in regular EVA. We've got it in cork. We've got it in the CFX carbon, and we've got it in the WIN. So, what do you think? What do you think? Which one's going to be the lightest?
I'll do CFX. Why not?
Let me get this dialed in here. Okay. So if that's your guess, we won't lead with that. We'll lead with the WIN grip here. The WIN RSG3T is 7.9 grams. Now keep in mind we're talking in grams here, and I think when most people talk about grams, they refer to paper clips, probably?
Paper clips, yeah.
All right, so 7.9 grams, the WIN.
So my 5 grams is going to be a little off, probably. You're probably around maybe 1.5 to 2.
Maybe, right, maybe. All right, so the cork, which the cork I feel like would be a tight, it's going to be a tight second possibly. That's going to be 6.5. So you keeping count? What was that one? 8 and some change? 7 and some change?
7.9.
All right, so we've now gone 1 gram lighter. So, so cork's there. We're going to do EVA.
6.8.
6.8. So
they're close, very close.
Those two are pretty close. And then for the big one, 5.7. So, yeah, we've got
7.8, 7.9.
So 2 full grams in between there. So yeah, there you go. CFX is the lightest, and granted it's by 2 grams, but we're only measuring this one piece.
Right.
You know, I think that if you had that, wherever that ultralight piece went, but yeah, you know, the ultralight piece, if you go with nothing there, or if you wanted to go with a little CFX in here somewhere, or, you know, the WIN is probably actually great on the back here because there's an aluminum check, a WIN. Not saying it's going to act as a counterbalance, but, you know, that's not the lightest piece, so, hey, that's pretty solid, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, Jason, that is your question answered. Which one is the lightest? I would say, you know, the carbon fiber, though, has its own unique texture.
It does, definitely.
Right? So this is also going to be very hard. This is going to be, you know, you can hear that as opposed to just, you know, kind of the dampening of WIN and cork and all that stuff. Now, I don't always agree that this translates to, you know, 100 times more sensitivity. You know, I would say that, you know, it's lighter and it has a different texture, but, you know, keep in mind, especially you have an exposed reel seat and stuff, you're not going to be feeling your sensitivity in the palm of your hand. You're going to be in the fingertips and stuff. So that's kind of that question answer. We figured we'd get the scale out, kind of go through there and see what's going on. So, guys, we need to move that teleprompter so I can see the rest of those questions. They're kind of down near the bottom. So we got Jason's taken care of. What else we got? I know that, let's see, keep going. Let's do, after using colored paint to dip the handles to color, what finish do you put on that? So that's going to be, what is that? That's going to be if somebody magic marbles something,
right?
Or if they're going to paint a reel seat.
Yeah. So you definitely got to put a, you know, what we call kind of like a top coat, I guess you could say, over top of that paint. Is that what they're referring to?
Yeah.
So yeah, like a spar urethane you can do. There's a couple different ones out there. You know, with some brands that you would probably recommend or throw out there.
Well, you know, the spar is what's going to make it the marine grade type stuff, you know, but sometimes it's hard to find the spar urethane in a spray. Mm-hmm. I would recommend doing it in a spray. You know, some people do dip it and hang it like they do, you know, you see crankbait guys, right?
Yeah.
A lot of crankbait guys are dipping and hanging, and it does. It creates a really, really nice thin coat, but if you're going to do that, you know, you're going to want to tape off, you know, pieces and parts, things like that. But it's also nice if you could spray it. You know, that would be good. So I know I've seen clear urethanes as a sealing, you know, type fixture there. Yeah. Whether it's in Home Depot, Ace Hardware, something like that. And just look for that spar urethane. That's a good option. you want to get?
Yeah,
get
so
the
another
next one?
question we had to come in, Jonathan, he asked, when applying thread finish, how do I get a crisp square edge on your thread wrap? So the one thing I've noticed is when I finish at a higher RPM, when that blank is turning a lot faster than, say, like a 9 RPM or an 18 RPM that our RDS comes in.
Yeah.
Step up, go to like an RBS Pro, like a power wrapper, or like a DC RDS, which is our variable speed rod dryer.
Yeah.
You can turn up those RPM, your blank's gonna be spinning faster, and you can get a much cleaner square edge on that thread wrap.
Yeah. That is absolutely what I would do. Do we have, we got a brush here. So in the finishing show, you know, a lot of times we have talked about, you know, how to put finish on, how you want it to move or rotate or whatever. What I do is I take the regular brush here. You can see that is the full length, full length size. I didn't really know how I wanted to say that, but yeah, that's the full length side. This is the yellow brush, which is the 1/4 inch width. We make a purple one, which the shaft is purple, and that's going to be an 1/8 of an inch width. So what I do is I take the razor blade and I come down here and I cut about 1/3 or 1/2 off of that brush. So then you can see there, let me get the full one here. Jay, I'll get you a little bit better zoom. So on this side is how I've trimmed the brush, and I trim it nice and short, got a nice little flat top there. It kind of cleans the edges up. And then of course on this part here, that's where you're gonna see, that's just kind of the factory, how it comes. So what I do is I do that. What it does is it stiffens the brush up a little bit when you apply it. It doesn't want to make those bristles kind of splay out. And what happens when they get splayed out on you, they run over here and they just, there's 3 or 4 bristles that run out and push finish way over here, and then you have a, you kind of have a hump in it. Also, what I do is if I am kind of leaning over my rod build and it's turning, sometimes I'll take and put a fist on the table, and then I will rest my brush hand out here on the top of my fist as the rod's turning towards me, and I'll finish like that. So that gives me kind of a steady base there rather than, you know, trying to hover over it. So give you a steady base, do like that. And you don't have to use your hand. You could use a block. You could use, you know, whatever you've got, something that's going to be a steady base, because usually your rod is not down that close to where you can just use your hand like this. Otherwise, your guides will come around and thump the table.
Right.
So that's a pretty good, that's a good question there. So.
Cool, so let's do one more here. Who's that, Alfred? Alfred asked, how do you find the spine of a 3 or 4 piece blank? So I'll let Chris clean up just a little bit while he's doing that. So basically, if you have a multi-piece blank, what we recommend doing is you want to spine each individual section by itself, find the spine there, and then put all the sections together and pretty much just line them up.
Yeah.
Now, when you get down to the butt section, obviously that's going to be kind of tough to do because it's got a, you know, a larger butt diameter. It's not going to turn just as easily, but you can still every once in a while manage to find the spine.
Yeah, I mean, this is a 10 weight.
So you're not going to do it with that
So
one.
this is the native 10 weight. It's the 9-foot 10 weight in the seafood blue green.
Seafood blue.
So it's in the seafoam color, and you really can't, you really cannot find much of a spine on this thing. So to be honest, if this was a 3 weight, yeah, you could probably flex it over a little bit. If it was a glass rod, you could flex it over a little bit. Otherwise, what I'm going to do is, you know, especially here in the short pieces. I mean, granted, we use the spine finder quite a bit here, but this is going to be a little harder when you've got just a short section like this. So I'm just going to roll this. You can see it jumping back and forth here on the table. That's kind of in and out of the spine. You know, typically you're going to find a rod that's got kind of a minor and a major spine, or an equal one, but you know, I'm just going to pick one. You know, which one that feels like it's the hardest to get out of the trough, if you will. I'm going to flex that, I'm going to mark it, and then I'm going to set it down. You know, and then I'm going to go down to the next section. So that was the tip section. This is section number 2 here. Starts to get progressively stiffer, obviously. This one does want to jump a little bit. You can see it kind of jump there. I'm going to mark that one. And then what I'll do is I'll mark, you know, section 1 and 2, and then I'll put them together and then kind of work just to double check, you know, that feels pretty good there. Section number 3, this is probably a little bit much here. You can see I really got to give it a good flex to even put a little bit in it. So that's what I do when I do any fly rod blanks, when I do any multi-piece blanks, no matter what. You know, like I said, some even surf rods, they're a 12-footer or they're a 10-footer and they come in 3 sections or 2 sections or whatever. It's going to be hard, whatever that butt section is, it's going to be hard to, you know, to really put a flex in it. But I do each individual section at a time, put them together and check them, and that's how you get kind of the best performance of spine in a multi-piece.
We got it.
Next.
Another question. Let's see. Steven. Do you use the same epoxy to coat the whole blank along with the guides, or is there several different kinds? You can definitely use the same epoxy that you use for your guide wraps on your rod blank. And I would probably recommend, though, especially if maybe you use a high build, to go with maybe a light build. Because you definitely know if you're using like an ultra light or even like a lighter freshwater blank, you don't want to put too much epoxy or too thick of a coat on that rod blank. It's really going to soften it up. It's going to kind of, you know, dampen your sensitivity. So you just want to be careful and not put too much epoxy on that rod blank.
We can't see the comments that are coming in on that deal. Is that something that is new, or is it just a, you know, usually we can see it on the right-hand side. It's not an issue. I just, you know, we like to see people saying hi to us. If it's going to cause an issue, we don't need to do that. But yeah. All right. So. What did you do? You did the epoxy one?
Yeah, so
right?
It's like Roxy's got the next one there?
You know what we need to talk about before we go anywhere? I'm going to answer this question. Okay. We're going to answer this question. And then we're going to do a giveaway. So what we need to do is let's get the guys in the back, since we're, you know, a little bit in here, about 15 or so minutes in. Let's draw somebody for a giveaway. Let me get this question out of the way and we'll do that. So we get, let's see. All right, so Matt Henderson asked, how do you size aluminum winding checks, reel seats, etc.? Do you have a chart somewhere we can find that? Actually, I'm gonna just stop the question right there.
Yeah.
We absolutely do. So the absolute best part there is the guys up front. I know Sean's done a lot of work on this. Ben's done a lot of work on this. There is a page on the resource tab. So if you go into the resource tab, what that's going to do is I'm trying to do this by memory, but there's a page for, you know, guide spacing. There's a page for winding checks, reel seat placements, things like that. And what that is so when you go into there, there's an Excel file that brings it up that's turned into a PDF. It's a chart, and it'll give you, okay, an MB843, and every 2 inches on the butt section, they're going to give you a measurement. So, you know, let's say the butt is, you know, 0.572, right? Then they're going to go 2 inches up from that, and it's going to be 0.568, you know, and then, right. So every 2 inches for probably, did they do 20 inches on the blank?
Something close to that.
I want to say it's enough that it's going to get you past where a handle, a reel seat, a foregrip, and a winding check is.
Right.
So, guys, let's get that link up to the resource page on our website. What that's going to do is, thank you, Jay. That's going to give us and give you guys, you know, a link where if you're sitting at home and you've got a group of blanks and you haven't placed your orders yet for winding checks, reel seats, all that, you don't have to go back and forth. Now, with that being said, we've got, what, maybe 8 or 10 or 12 people up front now, that if you've got any of these questions, then we're just a phone call away.
Yep.
So that's the great part about that. So, you know, you can call in, talk to Sean and Randall and, you know, any of those guys. Maritza's up there too. She'll help you out. Any of those up front will measure a blank, get stuff done, but use that resource page. That's That's huge.
It's there for a reason. It's so helpful.
They put a lot of work into that stuff. You know, you wouldn't want their work to just be in vain. So.
Right.
Absolutely. You want to give something away?
Let's do it.
Can we scroll to the top
name?
of that there? Yeah. We need, yeah, we just need to go to the top there. That's going to give us a, did y'all pick somebody back there? Yeah, other direction. That's the bottom.
There we go. So we got a winner.
What is that? Go ahead.
We have our second runner-up. So this is for a set of the Extreme Reamers. 4 Extreme Reamers. That's a great value, by the way.
I was going to say, so you're telling me the second runner-up?
The second runner-up.
Is a whole set of Extreme Reamers?
Dun, 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 dun. The winner is...
Go ahead.
Sam Grady.
Nice.
4 Extreme Reamers.
They always give you the easy names.
Yeah.
Sam Grady. I think, don't we have?
We have a set here? There's one.
Yeah. Okay, so
that's the one. That's
this
the
is
XL.
probably the XL. So the cool thing about this deal is this is your Extreme Reamer. If you don't have one or a set, you're really missing out. You're really missing out. So the cool thing is this is a fiberglass rod with the taped reamer material here on here. The great thing about this is it is reverse threaded in the handle.
Correct.
So if you want to, I want to say you get 4 of the tapered reamers with one handle.
Correct.
Right. All right. So 4 tapered reamers, one handle. It's got an O-ring here to keep you snug. Now, if you want to back this off, you're going to turn it to the right-hand side. So instead of righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, as we were all taught way back in the day, obviously we're going backwards. So pull that off, and you can see there's a nice, you know, metal stud there going in, threaded piece. It's bonded to this. You can set that aside. And this is the part that I like about it. So this will just chuck right into your drill here. Tim Taylor would be very proud. We'll get the drill out, and yeah. You know, you don't, here's the thing though. We've got 4 sizes, right?
Correct.
So we're gonna do small, medium, large, XL, and these. So just be careful as you go through this, because, you know, you chuck this in a drill, this is the 18 volt, you can really get wild pretty quick. So, and I think as Guffey always says, he's like, you don't want to ream too quick and ruin all the fun. So, because that's the problem, is you go through that grip too quick, now you're gonna have to do an arbor, now you're gonna have to order another grip, something like that. Just be careful, because there's a lot of power behind that, and these do work very well. I've had my set for years.
That's a long time.
So, yeah, absolutely. Let me just thread this one back in here. So anyway, Sam Grady, right? Sam Grady?
You got it, yeah. Sam Grady.
Sam Grady's going to win a full set of Extreme Reamers. That's pretty solid. Pretty solid.
Pretty solid.
All right, so while we're giving stuff away, we want to make sure that you guys know there is a blank sale going on in the clearance section. There are some, what are they? Those are OEMs. They're from like medium light, medium heavy, and heavies.
Yeah, then we also have some of the CRB, the original IS blanks that are still on clearance as well.
Yeah.
Those are going very, very fast. They're, I think they're down to as little as $10, and then some of the longer ones are upwards of, you know, maybe 16 to 18. But anyways, that's a phenomenal value. If you can get a blank, I think it's a 6-foot blank for $10 and some change. Yeah. That's a great deal.
Well, and of course, in that blank clearance section, so go to the website, mudhole.com, of course, after you leave us here tonight. Run over there. It's 50% off blanks in the clearance section. So we've already got stuff knocked down. Add some more in there, and that's going to go till tomorrow night at midnight, right? I think that's what we're doing.
If they last that long.
Well, right, yes, if they last that long. So that is it. All right, cool. So we gave a little something away. I think we've got a top 10 list coming up tonight.
Yeah.
Do we have that? Is that ready? Are those
start
things?
on that?
Do we want to do that?
We can hit those pretty quick.
Is that where are the note cards at? You got them? You got the whole stack?
Okay.
All right.
You just
cool.
want to do like a little, just run through quick?
Yeah. This is going to be. just bring them over here.
Yeah.
Just bring them over here. I want the full David Letterman feel here. Don't have the gap in the teeth. Don't have a fine suit on. But we're going to do this.
And all that, yeah.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is a little throwback, top 10 list. This is going to be the top 10 questions that we as Mudholians get here during phone calls, emails, rod building classes, brought to you by everybody up front, everybody in the back. We kind of pulled the thing. So we're going to start with number 10 is...
10.
Got to count it down. So my decals peeled up under the thread finish. Hunter, why did that happen?
So for one, you might have got a fingerprint underneath your decal. So the best thing to do is, of course, we're going to have a demo real quick, but if you take 2 pieces of tape for your decal, lay it down flat, put 1 piece of tape over top of the decal, take your second piece of tape, attach it to the back of the decal, and pull that layer off.
So you're saying that you don't ever want to put fingerprints on the top of a decal?
Exactly.
Okay.
And then that's usually the number one thing. You know, if you get some type of contamination underneath that decal, that's going to cause the edges to lift.
Yeah.
That's what I've at least seen. Have you seen anything else?
Absolutely. Here's the other reason. So when you take your Pro Coat, and the Pro Coat I tend to use is the medium build. You know, I'm not a big high build guy, but the reason I'm not a big high build guy is because it's mostly ultralights, fly rods, and stuff like that that comes out of my basement. So what ends up happening is if you mix, you know, resin, hardener, you start mixing, right? And everybody thinks, oh yeah, I've mixed for 5 minutes. No. I promise you, if you set a timer on your phone, set an egg timer, do whatever, if you mix for 5 minutes, you have a chemical reaction that gets in there. And I call it hot finish. You know, granted it's not hot, but it kind of is. If you take what I call hot finish and you go right on top of a decal, that finish almost acts like a solvent to the adhesive on the back of that decal. So what ends up happening is then you start to get the lifts on the edges, and then it ends up curing like that, and then you have a problem.
Yep.
So you said no decal fingerprints.
Fingerprints.
No contaminants, and watch that hot finish for me. So.
Cool. Number 9.
Number 9. How do I know what thread size to choose?
I'd say as a general rule across the board, freshwater rods, ultralights, anything like that, I would go with A. Fly rods, if you step up into the saltwater game, start using, your stand-up tuna rods, stuff like that, I would go with D.
Okay.
What about you?
You know, there's a lot of things that we agree about, some things we don't. The thread is something we agree about. Now, on another note of that, if you're ever going to try to mix, because that was a good explanation, and that's dead on for me, too. So if you're ever going to mix thread sizes, a lot of people, for the big game guys, are going to, or for those that do decorative stuff, what I'm going to be careful of is how do I mix thread sizes for an under wrap on a guide, and then we're going to wrap over the top of that thread. So there's a couple things. And if you think about this in terms of, diameters of thread and things like that, you'll understand it. So there's a couple ways to go about this. If you lay thread down before you put a guide on it, you can put a really skim coat of finish, stick it down there, and you're good to go. It doesn't matter what you go back over. But if you're not going to do that and you're going to finish all at once, you need to lay down size A first. So if you lay size A down, pack it real nice and tight, and you come back over it with a larger diameter thread, it's not going to want to do one of these deals and work its way in between. The D is just going to lay right over the top of it, and then you're not going to have it where, where it gets in between the pieces there. It's going to be perfect. So, but in regards to that opposite, if you put the larger size down first, and then you come back in with a smaller size, it's going to pretty much slice it all up, and it's going to work its way in between. So that's that.
We also have size B.
We have size B.
If you're in between, just go with size B.
Well, I think I've probably wrapped size B on probably every inshore and bass rod I've got.
Yeah.
A, I do the fly rods, kind of like you were saying, or like ultralights, but that B is really, really good.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of the best of both worlds there. We don't have quite as many colors yet in it, but we've got
enough.
We've got black. Black guides, black thread, that's what we usually use. We don't get too creative. All right. So number 8, my finish is tacky. What did I do wrong?
So you hit on something good earlier. If you haven't mixed your finish long enough, so setting a timer, a full 5 to 7, 8 minutes is, you know, that's crucial for sure.
Right.
Also, room temperature is a big deal. Anything below, you know, I would say the best temperature to do is somewhere between a range of like 68 to 72.
Sure.
You don't want to go below 68. That's definitely going to cause a lot of problems, especially in the wintertime up north. That's where, you know, we ask right away if we get a caller in, you know, where do you live if you're up north? And that's probably the case. So
yeah, we actually had a guy asking about ambient temperature.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think Govey said that he doesn't recommend taking Ambien and putting finish on.
That's not a good idea.
We don't recommend taking Ambien and putting a finish on either. But you know, he's with the dad jokes. So that's pretty good. He's got them. But yeah, as Hunter said, it's either you're not mixing it enough, or you're in a basement up in Minnesota where it's like 50 degrees. And we understand that that's hard to get by. But you know, we got the CRB heater. You can use the heater, you can use the tent, things like that. You know, if you don't want to run your power bill through the roof, you know, when it's -5 outside and you need to try to heat the house to 74 degrees to get your finish to kick out right. I understand that that's tough. So those are really the two things there that'll end up getting her done. All right, so number 7, what is the difference in extra fast, fast, moderate fast, etc.?
Okay, so it's going to be action. It's going to be how would you say, how far or how much the tip of the blank deflects, I guess you could say.
Yes.
So extra fast, it's just going to barely, maybe the first 6 to 8 inches of that tip are going to actually deflect over.
Yep.
You know, if you're talking about a moderate or a mod fast or even like a slow blank, it's going to bend almost, you know, halfway down your blank.
Yeah, at least for sure. I mean, if you've ever seen somebody, you know, one of the bass guys, and they're throwing a crankbait with a moderate you know, speed blank, and they've got a fish hooked up. I mean, that blank has been all the way into the handle. You know, and that's going to be something that is indicative of a moderate, you know, or a slow type blank.
Right.
You know, a lot of your, you know, cranking rods or your glass rods, things like that are going to be slow, moderate type deal. And stuff like a jerkbait rod is going to be on an extra fast scale because you just want the very, very tip of that rod, you know, to work, so you don't have to really work that jerkbait hard.
One thing I do want to hit on real quick is I hear a lot of guys, you know, say, "Oh, I'm looking for a medium fast rod blank." Well, that does not exist.
Correct.
Medium is a type of power. You know, you have your light, medium heavy, and then for your actions you have fast, extra fast, moderate.
Yes.
There's no combination of power and action. You know, they're two separate
And we hear
entities.
that a lot.
Yeah.
That's a great tip. How does, number 6, how does each MHX series compare to the St. Croix series? So we've got, if you guys haven't heard, St. Croix will no longer be manufacturing rod blanks. So we've been getting this question a lot where, let's say someone really wants the high performance. They're like, I build everything on SC5.
Yep.
So what is your comparable to SC5? You know, and that's going to be, you know, if you kind of visualize how it goes through the chart from, you know, the highest. You got SC5 is going to be like our Elite X's.
Correct.
Right. Then you've got our SC4, the St. Croix SC4s or like the Elite Pros, okay, that we've got. Then you go to SC3. The comparable to that is just going to be the regular MHX standard. And then SC2 is probably going to be closest to, you know, our MHX standard, but maybe in like an L. You know, it's got a little bit.
Or an S.
Yeah,
L and
an S or an L version of the MHX. And then maybe right there at that, the CRB lineup is going to come in there. You know, the CRB colored blanks. I would say, you know, they're like the Graphite 2 / maybe like 1.8. You know, instead of SC2, maybe it's like 1.8. So that's kind of how to go through there. So if you're somebody that's got to fish the SC5 stuff, the Elite MHX Elite X is going to be what you're going to want to key in on there. So all right, number 5, what is the difference between high mod and regular mod? So I think that's, you know, people wanting to know about, you know, you see stuff that's like, what's IM6 or what's IM10 or what is this million modulus and what's that? Now, we could do an entire show on that. Okay, I understand that. But just in a general sense and term, What are you going to use a high mod for? What are you going to use just a regular modulus MHX for?
Well, a high mod is going to be, especially today's high modulus blanks that we have out there, they're going to be very, sensitive. They're going to be lighter weight, but at the same time, they're going to be not only lighter weight, but they're also going to be, a little bit less durable typically.
Okay.
Which has changed actually in the recent years because now we're using a new nano resin system.
Right, which
has actually made them more durable.
Yep.
But in the long scheme of things, I would use an Elite X blank for or a high modulus blank for, if I'm jig fishing, if I'm throwing a Texas rig worm, anything where I want to feel the bottom contact, I want a lot of sensitivity. But then again, I'm not going to use that blank for throwing a frog, into heavy cover.
Right.
Because you got to be careful where that really comes into.
Don't forget about that finish.
Yeah,
but yes, you're right.
Platinum gray finish. Yeah.
Keep going. Keep going.
But you really got to be careful because, like I said, these blanks are thinner diameter. They're going to be less weight, but also there can be some drawbacks in some cases. So, and to when you're throwing a frog, you don't need a ton of sensitivity. You want to make sure that blank's going to hold up. It's going to be durable.
It's a visual bite.
Yeah,
and that's why I love it.
Yeah.
Throwing a big easy, throwing a frog, things like that. That's what I really like. But this is the NMB 862XF. I think this is one of old Daddy Bob's favorites.
That's a really good blank there.
I don't know if we probably make sure that gets back to his desk because otherwise we're gonna have to answer for that. All right, so. We get a lot of finish questions. So number 4, how long should I wait before adding a second coat of thread finish, and does it have to be completely dry? So I'm a one coat guy.
Yeah.
I've always been a single coat finish guy, and I don't know if it's because I err on the lazy side or if because I'm not a lazy rod builder, but I've practiced a lot and I've really developed how much finish I want on the rod blank, because I see some people that like more finish and some people that like less finish. I get it, like granted there is a time and place where that's like there's way too much finish on there, way too much, but there's a lot of in between, and I'm not a big game guy, so I don't have to worry about having a ton of finish on there. I'm fishing fly rods and ultralight stuff. I mean, there's really no reason to have a ton of finish on there. So I've developed a one coat kind of game. For those that want to do the 2 coats, and I asked your dad this earlier because he was a 2 coat guy, right? He was very meticulous about it, and I think back then the finishes probably weren't as good as they are now,
right?
So that they kind of had to do 2 finishes, 2 coats, I should say. So he would always, he errs on the side of caution for most of the stuff, whereas I know there have been a couple of times you and I have, gone out to dinner and put finish on a rod and had to fish a tournament the next day and just had to go.
Yeah.
Just had to go. So, so he likes to wait 24 hours to put another coat of finish on there. And I totally respect that. So it's one of those deals. I would wait, I would use 24 hours as a baseline.
Yes, for sure.
Right? Because depending on your temperatures, where you're at, what you're using it for, different things like that, you'll figure out that, well, that finish I'm using, it's not tacky and it's ready to go at like 12 hours. There's no reason why you can't go ahead and put a finish on there.
Right.
Your second coat. If you're somewhere where it's really cold or you're running in the, the CRB tent and you need almost 24 hours, you need almost 24 hours. Just make sure that that finish is not tacky to where it's going to grab your brush or you're going to, kind of booger up the first coat with the second coat.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, you can nail it.
That pretty
Perfect.
good? All right, I'll let you take this one. Number 3, can I paint a rod blank?
For sure. You can definitely paint a rod blank.
Okay.
What you got to be careful is you have to use a paint that has a flex agent. Because, obviously, when we're out fishing and catch a fish, that rod's bending, it's flexing. If you use a paint that does not have a flex agent, it's going to crack. It's going to cause spots in it. That's not what you want.
Sure.
So you want to make sure you use like a, what's it, Krylon Fusion? Is that one good one to use?
Yeah, Krylon Fusion was developed for plastics.
Yeah.
So,
or like an automotive paint would be great.
Yeah, if you've got somebody or yourself, you're very good with an airbrush, if you paint cars, if you paint motorcycles, if you paint any of that stuff, you can use an automotive paint. Just make sure you put a flex agent in it. And a lot of the stuff out there is an automotive paint with a flex agent and an automotive clear with a flex agent.
Yep.
just make sure that you've got a flex agent in there, because if not, the second that that rod blank flexes at all, it'll just be, you just ruined your night of work. So nobody wants that. So, all right, this one is a unique one. Okay, we get this a lot. And at times it can seem like a silly question. It's really not a silly question, but once you understand why what you do develops into this, what is the standard split grip handle spacing in between your grips?
So, this is a good one. I think we do this almost every show, it feels like. Even on finishing, I think. The space between the back of your reel seat and the top or the front edge of your butt cap does not matter. This space right here, there's no reason ever that you should measure this unless you're doing, you know, a decal, a butt wrap, some kind of decorative, you know, something in between the split grip.
Yeah.
The only measurement you should ever have to actually do is from the back edge of either your rod blank or preferably your butt cap to the back edge of your reel seat. Now obviously this ice rod, or this ultralight rod, excuse me, does not have, you know, a butt grip that goes behind it. If it did, we would still measure to the back of that reel seat.
Right.
Because that's going to give you your distance no matter what butt cap, no matter what rear grip, no rear grip, it's going to give you the same measurement every single time.
Yeah, and you know, we've seen this happen where someone says, hey, I want a 16.5-inch handle on my bass rod. And we're kind of looking at him like, okay, well, where are you measuring from? And then, you know, he's got a fighting butt, and then he's got a 3.5 rear, and then maybe he's got a 2.5 foregrip in front of a regular reel seat that's also 4 inches, and he's measuring from up here, okay? Well, the problem is if he's measuring from up here to back here, and I'm building a fishing rod that has no foregrip, with a different reel seat, and a different rear, and a different butt, I want to be able to put my reel at the same place that he is, but you know, my rear might say, oh, I want it at 10.25, but he's measuring a reel seat at 16.5. So really, that's where we want to make sure that we have some kind of a standardization here, that it doesn't matter how long your fighting butt is. It doesn't matter how long your rear grip is. It doesn't matter how long your foregrip is. Where is the back side of your reel seat? That's where your reel's going to be, and then that's going to determine this length. So this in here doesn't matter. People go, well, I don't know, should this be 2 inches? Should it be 4 inches? Should it be 6 inches? It doesn't matter. Figure out where you want your reel, figure out what butt cap's going to go on there, and then everything else will just figure itself out.
There you go.
Yeah, it's pretty
Done.
good. All right, so the number one we get, how do I determine the size of the guide that I am trying to replace?
First thing you need,
Number one,
is a set of calipers. A pair of digital calipers. Hopefully guys will drop a link in there. Or you can also use our CRB gauge, which not only does guide sizing, but also does tip sizing. Either one of these works. I would strongly recommend the digital calipers, because not only can you use these for measuring a guide, but you can also do it for measuring for winding checks for a reel seat, multiple uses, not just for guides. Anyway, so to measure this guide, we're going to turn our calipers on here, and I'm going to be in millimeters, not inches. So what I'm going to do here, and I'll do this on this side of the ring so you guys can see, we're going to measure not the ID of this ring, not the inside, but the OD. So I do this right here. Obviously this is not perfect, I'm just showing you guys an example. I'm going to measure this out real quick. And this is right at a little over 20 millimeters. So this is a 20 millimeter guide. Now again, I'm not measuring the ID, the inside diameter of this ring. I'm measuring the outside diameter. Now, say you guys have maybe an old rod and the ring is missing inside of the guide. Just like this
like that?
one.
I couldn't believe how hard it was to get that LZR ring
That's
over.
good. I like to hear that.
Yeah, good Lord. I had to take a pair of grips to it.
If you do have a guide and you need to do a repair and the ring is missing, the inside diameter of the frame is going to be the same measurement as the outside diameter of your ring. So again, I'm right at 20 millimeters, 19 to 20 millimeters. So this is also going to be a size 20. So
now, why? Okay, so why are we measuring from the frame? Did you cover that while I was breaking that ring out?
yeah, because it's the same measurement as the OD of the ring. So if your ring is missing,
yeah, but what's the standardization behind that, right?
Well, because they're different ring materials, which have different thicknesses, I guess you could say.
Exactly. So, like a Torzite, let's say the highest of the high Fujis, a Torzite ring is going to be the ultimate thin ring for the Fuji.
Right.
Right? So, whereas the LZR, for us, that is the CRB ultimate thin, whereas if we went back and grab a standard,
Right.
you know, the actual thickness of the insert is going to be thicker, so you can't measure off the inner diameter of the ring material, because the frame material is going to be the same, like you said. But you know, depending on what quality of ring that's in there or that was in there, that's going to give you a different reading. So, and we have had guys do that. You know, if you're going to replace one, get you a set of calipers. They're not expensive, but you know, a caliper and maybe a Dremel tool, or you got to have them, right?
Yeah.
So, just like you said, measure the inside of that. There's a lot that we can pretty much nail a guide dead on. If you're like, I've got this guide, this is the measurement, here's a photo of it, email it to us. There's somebody in this building that can get you an exact match if it's available to us.
Right.
Some aren't. You know, there's rod manufacturers out there that have guides that are specifically only built for that, and they don't offer those for sale, so that's tough. But we can just about nail it otherwise. So, cool.
I just want to talk about tip-top sizing real quick.
Yeah.
Just because we're on the same kind of subject.
Right.
So a tip-top, when you go to do a tip-top size, there's two sizes for a tip-top. The first number that you see, so if we have an SBLT 8 dash, there's another dash, dash 8 dash 6. The first number is going to be your ring size, which is measured exactly like a guide is. It's in millimeters, right? The second number, say it's a 6-5 or 6.5, excuse me, that's going to be the tube diameter in 64ths of an inch.
All right.
So, if you guys wondering why there's two sizes or if that's ever confused you, and also when you go to our website and you do go to choose a tip top, I think there's a picture on there, a diagram that shows you how to size a tip.
There is.
And it should be on every, pretty much every, you know, tip top, you know, page we have on there.
Yeah.
But those two sizes, that's what it represents.
Yep, absolutely. So, funny side note. We noticed that Greg jumped back in with a comment there after his ambient, the ambient temperature. So he was saying that after the ambient temperature question, he had to go back and look at his question to make sure that he spelled it correctly. So, you know, we weren't trying to put you on the spot, Greg, or poke fun at you, but, you know, when we all sit around here in the Thunderdome throughout the day, it's one of those deals that, you know, we work up some dad jokes, and the whole ambient thing was
gotta
right
have
there.
a good laugh every once in a while.
It was too good. We had to jump on that one. So how about we give something away?
Let's do it.
We're gonna do, just like we were talking, those LZR guides. We're gonna do an LZR guide set. So
we got one or two?
We're gonna do two LZR sets. Now, here's the unique part about this, because if you notice, somebody might say, well, I don't know what LZR set to choose from, because we don't have LZR sets yet. But the good part about that, and since we have our loyal followers, you get to choose how we're going to build your set. So technically it's a set, but it's not a set in terms of that we set the set. Does that make sense? So if we choose you, you can say, okay, I'm going to build this rod, it's going to be this long, and I want, you know, Gunsmoke, right? Which the Gunsmoke is pretty cool. I think if you don't choose the Gunsmoke, gotta choose the Gunsmoke for sure. So, what you're going to do is we'll help you, you know, choose your color, choose your set if you want a rapid reduction, if you want a casting, if you want whatever you want. We're going to build your custom set on that. So, I'm going to give away 2 LZR sets. We're going to do 2. First winner is Dale James. Okay, so Dale, please, and we don't have to know right now.
Right.
So we've got you down. You want an LZR set. If you want to think about what you want to order, or you got a rod blank sitting in the corner that you don't know what guides you want on it, or you just know that you always build bass rods and you know what kind of guide set that you want, that's how we'll put it together. So you're not going to be able to go to the website and pick out a set, but you know it's better because we can do exactly whatever you want in guide sizing. And the second one is Tom Marks. So we see Tom around a lot. That a boy, fantastic. So Tom, as I was telling Dale, check it out. See what sizes you need. If you want spinning, if you want casting, we'll go through. And you know, if you want to tell us exactly what you want, great. If you want to say, I've got this rod blank and I'm going to do this with it, help me pick out a set.
Even better.
We could do that too. So all right. So we'll keep the questions coming. Are there? Are we missing any new questions at the bottom of that sheet, guys? Because we've got one here. John's got a question. Which is better on a graphite rod, varnish or high build when sealing wraps? What part do you want? Because I'm going to say those two, if you're looking at varnish and you're looking at high build, they are at the most opposite ends of the spectrum.
They really are. Yeah.
All right.
I almost want to go right in the middle and just.
Yeah. Pro coat. Pro coat. No. So all right. So if we're talking about varnish and we're talking about high build is there for one coat applications or big game stuff, right? Great sealing properties, great adhesion properties, all that. Now, varnish, on the other hand, also great sealing properties. It's a little bit different to work with because it is literally like putting water on your thread wraps.
Yeah.
So whereas the high build is a one coat, we're going to set it and forget it. The varnish, you're going to have to come back and put multiple coats like that. It's a lot like what's the stuff that comes in the glass jar? Why am I forgetting this? Permagloss. Mm-hmm. It's a lot like varnish and permagloss are very, very similar. But that permagloss will light you up if you do it inside. So don't do that.
Be very careful.
Yeah.
It dries very quick though. That is one plus.
Yes,
so if
it's
you need
like a humidity type cure.
If you need a quick
so
rod
you can
repair.
Like 30 minute, put it on there.
That is one.
That's nice.
Very good benefit. Yeah.
So anyway, that is that.
You want to hit some new questions?
Yeah, are there any new questions, guys, that we're putting up here? Because I know we're going through some of the ones that we had previously, but it looks like there's quite a few that are flying in.
I'll let them get that, and then I'll answer this question. I want to start building rods. What is the first equipment should I try and get started? That will be our FSB-2 kit. That has all the equipment that you need to start your first rod build. It's got your hand wrapper. It's got it's got an RDS in there, doesn't it?
Yeah, and an FSB-2, you buy it and you can build it.
Thread. It's got your rod finish, your I'm drawing a blank here. Your paste epoxy for doing your handles.
Yeah.
It's got everything. It's got the mud hole rod building book.
It's got the new tape reamers in it. Got you, I think 4 or 5 of those.
5,
so
I believe.
That's going to help you, get everything prepped and ready. But yeah, like you said, DVD, book, reamers, glue, finish, brushes,
thread,
razor blades, thread, hand wrapper, rod dryer. It's got everything in it.
Everything.
So the FSB-2 is kind of your tools essential there. And then of course we're also teaming that up with a rod kit, and that would be the turnkey kits.
Yep.
So guys, we'll make sure we get up a link there to the turnkey kits, because if you get a turnkey kit, you get to choose between, light, ultralight, saltwater, fly fishing. You want colors, you want metallic, MHX, you want a flipping stick, you want whatever. We have an absolute huge library of turnkey kits. So you get all the pieces and parts that you need, tip top, guides, handle, winding checks, grips, the whole deal there. Then you get the FSB-2 with it.
Yep.
So then you get your FSB-2, and that's all your tools, and bang. That's the deal, for sure. So the turnkey kit is really the way that you want to do that. So what's your favorite MHX blank for frog fishing?
FP885.
Didn't that win a Forest Wood Cup at one time?
Done. That's all you need to know.
I think that a Forest Wood Cup was won on an FP885. There's a lot of money been won on an FP885.
There has, and that is the #1 question. I don't care if we're talking crankbaits, flipping and punching, Texas rigs. I get more questions about a recommendation for a frog than anything.
Well, it's so much fun to fish, though.
It really is.
Because it's one of those ones that I think Brandon Lester said it the best. Because we were joking about, like, you know, hey, what line's on there? How do you set your drag? How do you do this? And he said, boys, I take a reel out of the box. I put that, he's running what? Vicious. No fade braid. He's running the Vicious no fade braid in like 50 or 65. And I think he takes a tool and puts the drag all the way down, locks it. He locks it. And that's it. And that's how he frog fishes. Yeah. So he uses an 885 a lot. I know he also uses an MB874 a lot. And I'm an 874 kind of guy. I also use the 885 too. But it's just one of those deals when I look down, and if I'm fishing heavy cover in Okeechobee or somewhere like that, you look down and you see an 885 with a whopper plopper on it. You see an 885 with maybe a flipping jig on it. You see an 885 with a frog, if you want to do that. Then you look over here and I got an 874 with a Big Easy. I got an 874 with a mag speed worm. Right? You know, and it's just like, cool, we're going to fish Florida with 2 rods. We got 9 of each, but let's go. So,
let's see.
Yep.
No, you nailed it there. How much can you cut off of a blank, and what effect does it have on the blank? The most
Do I get to tell my story? How we came up with it? Keep going.
All right, I'll tell my bit, and then you can tell you. The most I would ever cut off a rod blank is probably, this is depending on length too. Length is very relative here. You know, if you're working with an 8-foot blank, you can probably cut 2.5, 3 inches. If you're working with a 6-foot blank, I might cut like an inch,
right,
1.5 inches.
Right.
Standard like 7-foot blank, I'm only going to cut maybe 2 inches. 2 inches across the board, unless we're talking under 6.5. Yeah. That's it for me.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny because you talk about, you know, cutting a little bit off of a standard blank. And I think that that's kind of sort of how we segue into some of these odd lengths. You know, I know you personally, you would take an MB843 and you would cut a little bit off and throw a devil's horse on it. And then there's a 610, right? Yep. So now all of a sudden, you know, we've got, you know, then we started coming out with like an 820 something, you know, like, so that's the unique part about it. And that's what the fun part was, is we were like, okay, well, you know, so, you know me, I know you're a topwater guy, you're a different topwater guy, and I'm not going to give away your secrets. But I don't think it's a secret that I like to throw a spook. Like, everybody knows that I like to throw a spook. Of course. And so this is where I learned from this, right? So you had a devil's horse rod, but it really wasn't a devil's horse. All right. So then you took an MB 843, cut a couple inches off of it, and you had that. And I was like, let me see that thing. I want to see that thing. Because I had, you know, we were throwing some topwater. I had mine tied on. Give me that one. So that one, boom, that's how we developed, you know, the 610. And that's where we went with that rod. So, you know, that's a lot like how we came up with the 885, wasn't it? I think everybody knows that story.
I think, yeah. You're gonna go
something happened. An SWB 956 got slammed in a car door. We cut some off of it, and then we were like, "Wow, this is almost perfect. We need to do a little tweaking." So we had the idea. Of course, we cannot take the credit for developing this rod blank because it was really more of your dad anyway. But we had kind of the rough deal. We were like, "Hey, I built a flipping jig rod out of this down in Okeechobee. I really like it, but there was some tweaks. Give it to the man. Bob comes back. We got an 885. Ends up winning Forest Wood Cup. So I think you just need to go out in the parking lot and start slamming rod blanks in the door.
Maybe.
Figure out what else we got. It's not covered under warranty, though.
No, it's not.
All right. What's the best way to fix a partly lifted decal? Oh. That can be tough.
That's very tough.
Let me tell you why it's tough. So sometimes you get the wings, right? If you get the wings, you can actually come in with a really, really sharp razor blade, and you can you can cut them off. So if you can shave that down, shave it down. Now you're going to have to come back in and probably put multiple coats of epoxy over the top. And all that's going to do is that's going to increase the diameter, put a couple coats over the top. But if you cut, you know, if there's just that kind of wing from the decal, if you can cut that with, you know, really clean razor blade, come back with a couple coats, you're good. It's the same way that if you've got a wild tag in coming off your guide wrap, you can cut it with a razor blade, trim that down, and come back with another 1 or 2 coats. And I'm talking ultra thin coats, not high build coats. I'm talking thin coats. And you'll cover it and it'll never show.
Yep.
So, yep.
Just ordered my first kit. Any other essentials that would help my first rods that didn't come in the kit? Yes, there are for sure. One thing we talked about earlier was the extreme reamers. They make reaming out grips super fast.
Yep.
A couple other things. Let's see. The kit that we have, and I cannot think of the part number offhand, that comes with the self-sealing caps.
BCSI.
Of course, your first kit, if you got the FSB2, is going to come with a PK24, which is the 2 preloaded syringes with the brushes. I don't think we have one down here. It comes with the brushes, the cups, the what else? Mixing sticks.
You're having a rough day, aren't you?
Yeah, I really am.
Tough.
Once you move on from that PK24, which is going to do about probably 2 to 3 rods, step up, get one of the kits that has the self-sealing bottle caps. Maybe go with like the, you know, the kit that has like the PK2, the PK4, a little bit bigger bottles of Pro Coat.
Yeah.
It's going to come with syringes in that kit. Those are, oh, they're so easy to use. They're almost as easy to use as like the preloaded syringes.
Yeah, for sure.
What else? You got anything, any tools that would help out? Calipers?
Got to do the calipers. Now, this is a tool for the fly guys.
Oh, this is good, yeah.
That's big. And this thing does not get enough love. I really, really like this. The reason I like it is because I do a lot of, you know, cork handle building, I guess you would say. I build all my own cork that goes on a fly rod. So I take the cork rings, glue it all together, put inlays in it sometimes, all that stuff. So this is the Dan Craft Crafty Cutter. And of course, any chance I get to use some power tools. So we've got the Binford 2100 here, and we got the Crafty Cutter in it. Let me pull this out here real quick. So the Crafty Cutter is, it's gonna come in a little bit better packaging. We had to pull this out to take photos of it. So you have a cylinder here that, do we have any tape? Yeah, grab
masking tape?
Yeah, that masking tape. So we've got a cylinder here where these blades actually screw into, and they're screwed into with like a set screw. So we've got an Allen key in the bag. The Allen key actually tightens a set screw that locks these blades into place here. Each blade has a notch in it. So there's 1 notch, 2 notch, 3 notch, 4 notch. So those are going to be different diameters. So what you're going to do is, let's say we pick a reel seat out. Now granted, we're going to need a reel seat that's got, you know, kind of the hidden hood here. So we're going to need an inletted fly grip. Now, if you're turning your own fly grips, you're not just going to get a cork ring that's got a proper inlet in it. So you're going to have to cut that inlet. And to freehand that with a Dremel is not easy. It's doable, but you might as well get a perfect cut. So one of 2 things. We can take the fly seat and we can mic it here. And then what we can do is we can try and test different blades. Magically, I already know what blades go.
Wow.
So, or what we can do is we can just put different blades in here and we're just going to hold it up and we're going to match it, you know, to the hood OD there. So in a sense, what we're going to do is we want to make sure that we cut a hole that reel seat fits inside of. And I'm going to put this back in the drill. And I just have a grip here. And you can see I've kind of started. So that's what it looks like as you start, right? So that's just cutting a perfectly cut circle with this Crafty Cutter. So really what I do is it comes with, so what we're going to do is I have now taped it, arbored it, and now I've put it inside of there, right? Now I've got the Crafty Cutter. I'm going to back here, and we're just going to insert that down. when you put this down here, do not rest the crafty cutter on the grip and then press the button, okay? If you do that, the startup will chip your cork very badly. Cork chips very easily, especially when you're putting drill bits and blades on it. So what I do is I like to start it, I want it running wide open. So make sure you get perfectly up and down, and I want it running wide open. So I start up here a little bit, and then I'm going to start it running, and then I'm going to ease it down. All right, so if you can, so I've cut that now a little bit deeper. Am I still in frame there, Nick? Okay, so you can see the insert still in there, and now I've cut that out, right? So let me get this seat. So the deal here is I've now got it where it will fit in there, okay? It's going to be tight, and you want it tight, because if not, there's going to be an edge around this here. So that is how it looks when the seat goes in, okay? Now, what I have done here is, if you can see this, there's still a lip, all right? I really don't like to cut more cork out than necessary. So there is a little lip there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to continue to cut a little bit more. Now, if you can kind of visualize how deep this hood on this seat is, you could measure off against your crafty cutter, and if you want, you can take a black Sharpie and mark on the outside of those blades, and then you can come back and wipe the Sharpie off with alcohol. So that's how you cut an inlet in this grip. Again, if you're going to go after the cork, don't put your blades on it and then start it. It'll chip it. Run at it wide open and be very, very delicate at adding pressure. Don't lean on this thing, because it'll start chipping and throwing cork. What you want to do is you just want to take barely little pieces, you know, off at a time. So just ease it in there, and just do varying pressure, right? So like I add a little pressure, take off a little pressure, add a little pressure, take off a little pressure, and that's how you get the cleanest cut. You know, I also recommend, depending on what you're doing material-wise, if you can, and if you want to put inlays in here, use our cork jig and cut a very, very thin piece of rubberized cork as you're building your cork rings. Put them in the clamp, and if you cut through the rubberized cork with the crafty cutter, rubberized cork does not chip. You know, running the crafty cutter, it really cuts a cleaner edge, and it looks really sharp. So if you see all my custom fly rod builds, you're going to notice that last cork ring, it might only be 1/8 of an inch. You know, it won't be a half. It probably won't be a quarter. It'll only be 1/8 of an inch. But the only reason for that 1/8 of an inch there is, one, because it looks pretty good, but two, is because I'm using the crafty cutter, and that rubberized cork cuts so sharp.
Gotcha.
So those are just a few tips there.
Cool.
And yeah, you want to give something away? How about a grand prize?
Let's do it.
You know,
So
we were talking about those turnkey kits.
We were. So grand prize winner is going to get a CRB turnkey rod kit.
That's pretty cool.
Which actually answers one of the questions we had before. What's the best rod to build for a first timer?
This one.
And that's a CRB turnkey rod kit. That's perfect. It's a great value, great rod blank. And plus too, you're not, you know, building your first rod on like a $200 blank that
No,
you might mess up.
but that CRB is
Yeah,
nice.
it's a great value.
Very nice.
So grand prize winner, Jim Harris.
Cool.
CRB turnkey rod kit, grand prize winner.
Awesome. Well, there is a number of colors. There's a number of options.
Tons
You
of
can do
color.
a 5.6 up to a 7.6, medium light, heavy. I mean, you know, that's Jim. You need to put your thinking cap on for that one, buddy. That one is going to be a really, really good rod blank. Figure out what you need, because you've got some options.
For sure.
You know, got colors and you got lengths and powers. That's awesome, fantastic. So, Wow.
What you think?
You've just been ripping them out.
Yeah.
What do you think? We got any new questions coming in here, guys? On the
scroll down to the bottom. We have any live questions?
Because we went through the one there on the varnish and the high build. Bruce has got a quick question there. I have a raw, unfinished ice rod blank. What kind of clear coat do I need to put on?
You don't have to.
You don't need to coat it.
You don't necessarily have to. You can if you want to, and if you do, especially on an ice blank, use a very, very light coat.
Yep.
Super light coat.
No, you really don't need to coat any of
But
this.
you don't have to. Yeah, just don't do it.
No, because even the MHX blanks are technically, sanded graphite. They don't have a coating on them.
No.
Some of the saltwater ones and some of the like the L series, like the inshore series, those are going to have a coating, or that fly rod blank's got a coating on it. It's got paint with a clear on it.
Yeah.
But a lot of blanks are just a sanded graphite outer. You really don't need to put any kind of coating on there. So, yeah. That's about it, I would say. It's been solid.
Yeah, a lot of great questions.
I know, a lot of really, really good questions. Now, here's the thing. If we didn't get to your question live on air, all right, we'll go back through the list here. If you're watching us later, because, this is kind of, I guess you could say our Facebook Lives are in syndication, TBS picked them up. They're going to be big.
Big deal.
Right after Friends.
Big deal.
Late night, So if you're watching this and we're not currently live, we do monitor this stuff. So it will be on YouTube, right, Nikki? You get it up there. It'll be on YouTube. You can go back in and ask questions on YouTube on any of our video library stuff we've got.
Yep.
We do get in there on a daily, hourly basis and answer questions on YouTube. So feel free to slide into our DMs. We always like that. It excites us. And, ask a question that maybe we didn't get answered here. And, of course, Bob is always in there answering questions. Taylor, Guffey, Hunter, and I, we're always in there answering questions the following day because we know that a lot of your questions don't get answered. I mean, it's just, we only do this for about an hour and 15, and we appreciate all the following, but, can't always get to all of them.
Yeah.
So.
And always, if you have like a very detailed question, like Chris said earlier, we have 8, 10, 12 sales reps up front that would be happy to give you a more detailed answer if you have a question that's a little more lengthy.
Yeah.
So
we can walk you pretty much through anything.
Yep.
So awesome. Well, as always, hey, congratulations to the winners.
Right.
That's pretty cool. A little Extreme Reamer set, some LZRs, and Jim taking home the big grand prize tonight of the turnkey. That's pretty cool. So also we did talking about the clearance blanks.
Yep.
Tomorrow night at midnight, that sale goes out. I wouldn't wait till then though, because I know they're headed out pretty quick. So we've got that going on. Got some other big things in the work. Got some new products coming. Might be on the big screen here pretty soon that you guys can see. So. Yeah, it was good. It was good. This was due. I know that this might not have been the most exciting show, but hopefully it answered some questions that either you had, or maybe some questions that you didn't know you had, and we were able to answer those questions. So cool. Probably be back in maybe 4 weeks. That's probably what we're looking at. Maybe a month from now. Again, we'll be on a Tuesday night at 6:30 Eastern. We appreciate you guys joining us.
Until next time.
That's Hunter McCamey, and I'm Chris Adams. And we'll see you guys later. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks,
Have a good
guys.
night.